Leadership is not rising with the number of units. It isn't a luxury. It's your edge. It's your total edge. It's how you show up. It's how you consistently look at data points, how you consistently invest in who you are. Your people are watching. Your providers are watching. Your staff's watching. Your friends, your family, they're all watching. Culture is shaped on what you tolerate, what you celebrate, and what you prioritize. That's what culture is. One of the things that I have found is that it's not about this sprint of motivation. It's not about being motivated one day versus not the other. I want to get into the root of what makes an elite entrepreneur, an elite practice owner. It's not about having all of the machine equipment, the best location, the best marketing, the best tech stack. I'm telling you right now, none of it matters if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't show up fit, if you're not sharp, if you're not continuing your education when it comes to becoming a true business owner, a true leader, a true CEO, and what that looks like to lead. Because throughout this journey, as you open your practice, chances are you're by yourself. You've either raised money from friends and family, you've gotten an SBA loan, or you've actually put in your own savings to work. And chances are you're also working part-time at the hospital and trying to get yourself into position to be a practice owner. I get it. If that's you right now, I love it. You've taken the first step. You're becoming a practice owner and you're figuring things out. You're going to fail. You're going to fall on your face and you're going to have to get back up. And that is learning. That doesn't mean that you failed because something didn't go correct. You got a bad Google review. Your website's not the best. Your patient had a bad experience. That means you're learning. That means you're evolving. Hey, what's up, practice owners? Cam Hemphill here, your host for the Medical Millionaire podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. My goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. I don't care if you've been in the game for a day, if you've been in the game for 10 years, or if you're looking to go to multiple locations, maybe you're looking to sell your practice in the next few years. Every single one of these episodes is to help you elevate your entrepreneurial brain. I want you to start running your practice like a CEO, like a true business owner. At the end of the day, you sell time. Your patient, your client, they are buying confidence. They are buying transformation. They are buying anti-aging. You are selling time in order to deliver that value to them. So let's maximize that time. You have to trade that time for dollars. Why not maximize it? If you've been in the game for over 5 years, 10 years, and you still find yourself not maximizing the value of return, this show and all these episodes are for you. And I want to get into the root of what makes an elite entrepreneur, an elite practice owner. It's not about having all of the machine equipment, the best location, the best marketing, the best tech stack. All of that, of course, is extremely important. You have to have tools, you have to have resources, you have to have culture, you have to have a value proposition. All of this is extremely important. But I'm telling you right now, none of it matters if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't show up fit, if you're not sharp, if you're not continuing your education when it comes to becoming a true business owner, a true leader, a true CEO, and what that looks like to lead. Because throughout this journey, as you open your practice, chances are you're by yourself, you're solo. You've either raised money from friends and family, you've got an loan, or you've actually put in your own savings to work. And chances are you're also working part-time at the hospital and trying to get yourself into position to be a practice owner yourself. I get it. If that's you right now, I love it. You've taken the first step, you're becoming a practice owner, and you're figuring things out. You're going to fail, you're going to fall on your face, and you're going to have to get back up. And that is learning, okay? That doesn't mean that you failed because something didn't go correct. You got a bad Google review, your website's not the best, your patient had a bad experience. That means you're learning. That means you're evolving. That's going to continuously happen after year 10. You're going to get a bad star review after year 10. You're going to have a key employee leave after year 10 that you thought was going to be there for life. You're going to have a patient that leaves after seeing you for 5 years, right? This is just how life goes, and you have to know how to manage it as an entrepreneur and as a business owner because we get very emotional to our baby. Our baby is this brand, your product, your expertise, all of the investment and hours and skill set you put in to building what you have. There is going to be vulnerabilities, and that's okay. You need to look at vulnerabilities as a way to elevate, not contract, but to extract, to continue to compound your efforts. And you have to be sharp because a wise man always told me is the goal and journey of entrepreneurship isn't to win. It's about the last person standing. It's lonely. It's hard. There's blood, sweat, tears. And the more I am in this game, the longer I have been in the aesthetics world, I consistently see a new medical aesthetics practice is opening up. Another medical aesthetics practice is closing their doors. And it comes down to your mindset, being sharp, being fit, being able to make critical decisions under pressure and believing in yourself. And so I'm recording this on a Monday because I want you guys to come into your practice with what I'm going to call is the Monday mindset, showing up sharp, fit, and ready to lead. And why prepping for the week matters. So how to start your Monday, how your business performs the rest of the week. If you come in sluggish, you've had a long weekend, you haven't been well rested, you haven't trained, haven't really worked on your business through the weekend, you haven't taken that time to prepare for the week, and you just show up to the practice, right? If you're just showing up without a plan, that's how the rest of your week is going to go, right? Leaders in aesthetics and wellness aren't just managing appointments. They're leading teams and they're driving enterprise growth. So get intentional. Get very intentional. And this is something that I do consistently is I set at least a 90-minute block every Sunday night or a 30-minute, 60-minute, whenever you have time. I know you have kids, husband, married, all the stuff, right? We also need to relax. I get that. But still set the intention every single weekend so you go into your week knowing the priorities, right? Not just responding to problems. Right? Steve Jobs said it so well is he is all about signal, right? He's one of the most well-respected entrepreneurs our entire lifetime. He's focused on signal and blocked out the noise, right? And so let me show you what that means. Noise would be maybe you received a bad review over the weekend. Signal is focusing on how you're going to grow the practice the next week. What appointments matter, patients that matter, delivering outcomes, delivering transformation, working on your KPIs, knowing exactly what's working, what's not working, how many leads have come in, what's the conversion rate. That's focusing on signal, blocking out noise. I hope you receive a 1-star review. It's how you respond to the 1-star review. It's how you block out that noise, right? You're not going to please every single patient. You're just not. Or you're going to have an employee that leaves and that employee, tells somebody they had a bad experience and then the boyfriend goes and gives a 1-star review. It just happens. I have interviewed so many practice owners that it just happens. And so expect it, right? And it's okay. It's how you respond and how you prepare because your mind can either retract and say, oh my gosh, everything I planned for all stops now because I received this 1-star review. Log it, flag it, move on. Move on towards the priority. You know your goals, you know your objectives. And this is why it's so important to be intentional. It's extremely important to be intentional. And I'll give you a little stat here. 53% of MedSpa owners expect 10% growth year over year, but most aren't preparing for scale. If you want to grow 10% year over year, what does that look like mathematically? Okay. If you're bringing in $1 million this year and you want to grow 10% next year, that means you have to grow an extra $100,000, right? As you close out that year. How do you do it? Do you need to invest in more marketing or do you not? Do you have the right website that's going to convert patients? Are you actually delivering the right treatment plan? Are you having the conversation during the consultation? Because as you look at numbers, some could say, hey, you need to invest in more marketing. Others could say, well, based upon how many appointments you did, if you increase your average cost per ticket, per patient visit by $50, you're at 10%. So how do you get there, right? And maybe being in a 10% growth year over year is underperforming on your benchmark initiatives. right? I would assume that if you looked at it, hey, you know what, if I elevate my marketing spend, it's going to increase my patient bookings by X. And every booking that comes in, if I can increase my average ticket per patient by 20%, by 10%, by 15%, you now should have no problem growing 20% the next year. So it's about analyzing every single data point within the practice. And that's what's critical, right? And if that one story review sets you back from your objective, that means that our mind is just, it's not ready yet. We need to know the priorities and we need to zero down on that. Okay. So let's talk about that for a sec. How are you showing up? Truly ask yourself, how are you showing up as a leader and as a practice owner? Your mind, your body, your energy. How are you treating patients? Aesthetic leaders in business of transformation, if you can't pour into others, if you cannot pour your energy into others, your tank is empty, right? You have to pour that energy into them. Are you sleeping enough? Are you moving your body daily? Feeding your mind with strategy instead of stress, right? I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. It's managed chaos, it's controlled stress. But strategy should always outperform stress, always, every single time. So how do you look at that? What are you doing in the morning? What are you doing on the weekends? Are you getting prepared for a strong week? Are you retracting or are you stepping on the gas, right? What does your morning routine look like? The most successful entrepreneurs I've ever studied, and guys, I've studied so many very successful entrepreneurs. I've read their biographies. I follow their podcasts. I know that we all do a lot of similar stuff. If you're tuning into this, we all have those similar minds, right? What is some of the most consistent traits that they have done? One of the things that I have found is that it's not about this sprint of motivation. It's not about being motivated one day versus not the other. It's about discipline and accountability and showing up even when you don't want to show up, right? We have different energy throughout the day, throughout the week, whatever it is, but it's about consistently showing up with discipline. Sometimes we feel like working out, sometimes we don't. If you go when you feel like shit or when you go when you feel great, at the end of the day, at the end of the workout, we all know that we feel better off by doing the workout, okay? So ask yourself, what does your morning routine really look like? Most successful owners, they wake up early. They have a plan. They journal. They pray. They look at their goals. They look at their objectives. They look at their data points. They look at their KPIs, right? They stretch, okay? They have something healthy to put in their body, right? You guys have access to all the peptides, all that stuff. You know, I would recommend becoming your own patient, right? Make sure that your blood levels are where they're supposed to be. Make sure that you're doing breath work. You have enough oxygen, right? Like manifestation. Get yourself in saying, you know what? Everything I do is all signal. All these great things are going to happen. And if you consistently do this time after time after time after again, I'm literally a walking, talking person of it. You know, for over 12 years, shoot, even longer than that. I think it's 15 years at this point. My morning routine is extremely disciplined. 4:30 a.m. wake up, stretch, exercise, peptides, vitamins, goal review, pray, manifestation, running, sauna, cold plunge. And I've done it for so long that it's now, my day can't really start without going through that. And after a while, when you go into the office, when you go into the practice, and you've gotten up early and you've gotten the kids to school and you've already, done the hard part of the day, right? That's a lot to take in before you go to your, first 9 a.m. appointment, right? It's a lot that you go through. The ones that do it, you show up with intention. Like no one can truly beat you, right? Like the one story of you, you're like, oh, I really don't care about that. You know what I've already gone through for the day, right? I freaking sat in 41-degree water for 3.5 minutes. Go through that. That is what builds your mind. Okay. So always doing the hard things first, being consistent about them. And you can't just say, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to have this morning routine. I'm going to do great this week. And then next week you kind of slack off. It has to happen every single day. Right? Maybe give yourself a break on, Sunday, Saturday, whatever, if you want to, sleep in for a little, a little bit longer. But the weekends are some of the most powerful times And people that have worked with me, they probably see that I email you early on Saturday or Sunday. My alarm actually does go off on Saturday and Sunday mornings, right? The kids, the wife, they're still sleeping. It's a wonderful time for me to get work done. Time for me to actually like work on the business versus in the business, because during the week, everybody's up a little bit early. Everybody's texting, emailing, exchanging. We have this way of communicating through these powerful phones that you can receive information every single day, every single night. It just hits your phone and we're addicted to it. We always look at it. So I found that those mornings are actually extremely successful for me. And, I feel like it's a time to where you should set your alarm. And it's a time that things are extremely quiet, right? Your brain is a little bit less stressed out because you may not have patience for the day. You may be doing something fun with the family, right? And make sure you give yourself enough time, because I have also found if you wake up, let's say Saturday, for example, at 6:30 a.m., that may sound early, but 8 a.m. is only an hour and a half away from there. So you're not giving yourself that much time. And really, like the family, especially if you have little ones, they wake up at 8, right? I mean, they typically are up even 7:30. Shoot. So like, make sure to wake up, another hour earlier. And I'm not saying, don't sleep. That's, get rest. You guys obviously are grown enough to know how to manage that. What I'm saying, have a routine, stick to it, be disciplined about it, and you will get yourself in a position to be much more successful and actually manage your practice like a CEO. That's the important piece. Most practice owners are provider ran. The provider does the majority of the patient visits, right? Like most provider practice owned businesses are the big revenue generators, right? They are. You may have another provider, 2 other providers that are keeping up with you. But the ones that I've met are typically the performance that bring in the most of the revenue. So when do you have time to work on your business, right? Those mornings are what's critical to keep your focus on signal and to keep your mind sharp, to keep your fitness game solid, because we're going to continue to age, even though we're always anti-aging, right? We have all these incredible advances and everything that we're putting in our body, but at the same time, we are aging. And it's important for us to just maintain a level of expectation for ourselves and put ourselves in position to continuously win. Now, I want to talk working on your business versus in it, right? And I talked about it briefly, but in the treatment room, when you're in the practice, you're stuck there. You're managing daily fires. You're doing an injection. You're connecting with your patient. You're building, this relationship with them, as you should be. You need to be present. You need to obviously be focused on your skill set and delivering that outcome and transformation. You're the expert, right? But the best ran practices, they're the ones that build systems. They're the ones that delegate to team members, train their team to conduct certain activities, scorecards, standard operating procedures, right? Free the owner's time and vision for partnerships and culture. Consistently be finding people that you can delegate things. If you don't have a great office manager, make sure to find one. That role is extremely critical. You should be able to delegate everything to that manager so they know exactly what the system should be, what the scorecard should be, what the standard operating procedure should be for the front desk person, for the marketing person, for the social media person, right? For the provider, for the patient coordinator, all this stuff. They should be the one that's helping manage the business. If you are the provider that is bringing in the revenue and you're the owner, and you love doing what you're doing, you love seeing your patients, that's what you see yourself doing all the time, I don't have a problem with you building a business like that. I actually think it's great if you love doing it, okay? That way you can have like an office manager, a CEO, if you will, that you can delegate, a co-CEO, you can delegate objectives to. They know your vision, they know the goals, they know the path, and then you can create the KPIs, the scorecards, and the benchmarks with them, and they can hold the other team members accountable, okay? You are not just an injector. You're an entrepreneur. You need to consistently tell yourself that. I'm not just an injector. I'm not just a practice owner. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO of a high performance revenue generating machine. That's what you are. And I think that there's this whole mind thing that is, I'm an injector, and it's it's fun. It's cute. Looks good on Instagram, whatever, guys. No, this is a business. You have salaries to pay. you have vendor relationships to pay, you have lease payments to pay, you have, car payments to pay, you got your mortgage, all the household stuff. Like, this is serious. And then if you have other people that work for you, you're taking care of their lives as well, right? So I want you to start thinking that, no, look, I'm a CEO of a high performance revenue generating machine. That's what I am. I am a practice owner, and I want you to stand proudly about that. Not that I'm an injector, right? So that's how you need to start looking at your business. And so by doing that, you're going to start to show up differently. You're going to start waking up earlier. You're going to start with these routines. You're going to go over your goals. You're going to go over your KPIs. You're going to go over your scorecards and not just look at them, but you're going to look at them and then take action on what's working, what's not working. Are you under benchmark or are you over benchmark? Understand what the benchmark is. And start to look at your practice through mathematics versus emotion. Okay? This may be hard for you to get there. So it could be time. If you've been in business for 3, 4, 5 years and you're growing, and have you ever hired a consultant? Have you ever talked to a consultant? Have you ever had anybody look at your numbers? Nearly 70% of med spas earn less than $1 million a year, but many aren't tracking profitability, conversion rates, or retention. Guys, I'm about 8,000 hours into studying the medical aesthetics business arena. And most practice owners I talk to, they don't know what their conversion rates are. They don't know what their retention rates are. They don't know what their profitability is. They know how much revenue was brought in, but they actually don't know how they got there. What is the percentage of injectables you're selling? What is the percentage of lasers you're selling? Like, what is the percentage of retail products you're selling? Right? What are your providers bringing in per hour? What is the average ticket per provider? How much are you spending on marketing? Is it aligned with your revenue to marketing ratio and what it should be? 10% of revenue should go to marketing. Is your marketing working? Is your tech system working? What is communicating? What is not communicating? So these are the KPIs that are really, really important, right? That you need to look at, and you could build a wonderful scorecard that shows you, here's the revenue that come in. Here's everything that came in by this specific category. Here are all the providers I have. Here's the total bookings that each provider had. Here's how much revenue they brought in. Here's the average ticket that they are conducting. And those numbers can actually tell a story, right? If you were to peg provider A versus provider V, you could say, okay, well, this person may have a training issue because their average ticket is much lower than the other provider, right? And chances are, if you're the main revenue generator, your average revenue per hour is much higher than the other providers. Why is that? Right? It's because you're the leader, you've been in the game, you've done some training. Well, pass that along. Imagine if you had 3 other providers where they increased their revenue per hour by $50, by $100, by $500. Right? I know some providers that, are doing $1,200 to $1,500 per hour. And then they have other providers in the practice that are doing like $4, right? That's a massive difference. Okay. I would really, that's why it's important to look at these numbers and to have these scorecards. So you're not making emotional decisions. Sally's busy, provider A's, doing great. Provider B, Sally, she's not doing so great. I don't know. I think, I think she's just not quite getting it. I think she'll get there. These are all theoretical assumptions. It's really easy to actually say, okay, well, how many bookings were there? What was the conversion rate? What was the average ticket? What was sold? And then you can even get further down to where you could actually look, what are the providers actually selling the most of by percentages and by dollar count? And you can say, oh, this person sells a tremendous amount of injectables. And here's the actual percentage, and here's the dollar amount. They're not selling a whole lot of retail product. But this other provider is actually selling a lot of retail product, but they're not selling, their average ticket on the injectable treatments are actually lower than the other one, right? So this is going to tell a story. Well, why is that? What are you saying during your consultation? What are you saying in the treatment room? Okay. And that can open up a world of opportunity for the practice. Maybe they need to be trained on the retail product. Maybe they have no idea what the retail product is and they're afraid to ask, right? So like, you as the leader have to ask these questions. That's what's super important. You have to actually look at the numbers, know the KPIs, so you can give direction, you can give leadership, you can give training. It's not just this assumption-based type of environment. And your providers are just showing up, they're doing what they're doing, and you're crossing your fingers and hoping that they're doing okay. You have to look at this, and then you have to have one-on-ones with them. I still know so many provider-owned practices where you are not having one-on-ones with the other providers. What are their goals? What does the compensation structure look like? Are they delivering the goals and objectives? Right? What about the front desk? How many bookings are they converting? How many reviews are they getting? How many people are they connecting with on social media? Are they selling memberships? Are they rebooking people? Right? Like, is there a standard operating procedure? Is there KPIs, performance-based KPIs tied to the front desk? If you have a front desk person right now in your staff and you're paying them a salary or hourly and there's no performance-based metric to it, I would encourage you to change your comp plan immediately. The goal of the front desk person is to get patients to rebook. It's to get a review. It's to connect on social media, get them to share your content on social media. The patients should share it. Example, they come when they have a treatment, they go pull up their social media, they talk about you on their story, they tag you. That is free marketing for all of their followers. Sell a membership, sell retail product, and have goals around that. How many reviews should they get per month, right? And then incentivize them, pay them to get those reviews, right? If there is no performance-based metric tied to your front desk person, I would even give them a different title. I think I've talked about that in some other episodes. Even the word front desk or like receptionist, I just think it's just old. It's outdated. And I think it's underpaid. I think it's undervalued. I would level that up. I would create a completely different title for these individuals at the front and talk to them. You're a powerful, performance patient coordinator. Go figure out some crafty name to where it elevates the entire persona of what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. If you don't have any idea on how to get these numbers, go talk to a consultant. There's tons of them in the industry that know how to actually get this stuff out of your EMRs and consolidate it to your P&L, look in your QuickBooks, put it all in one area, and then can give you a visual and then have a great conversation, right? Smart CEOs always hire a coach. They always hire a consultant. They're always working with somebody that can consistently look at the practice through a different lens and consistently be a soundboard to help you take your practice to the next level. Every top performer has a coach and has a mentor and has a consultant. Every single one of them. Okay. Consultants bring objectivity, industry benchmarks, strategies you don't see. It just deepens the strength of the business. Okay. Now, when you have this scorecard, this is something that you can consistently look at week over week over week and build trend lines and build goals off of. Realistic goals that you can hit. Once you have this all built out, this is how you put yourself in position to focus on what matters most, the goals within the practice. Last month we did X amount of revenue. This month we want to do Y. How are we going to get there? Well, let's look at the scorecard. The scorecard will tell us how we get there. Okay. It's not just guessing, right? That's the whole point. Is when you're looking at some of the most powerful companies in the world, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, even OpenAI at this point. I think their valuation is like $500 billion. But when you look at some of the most powerful companies, Oracle, their stock just went up 30%. What are they doing? Are they making decisions based on guessing? Obviously, we're not there, right? But at the same time, they're making decisions based on strategy. They're making decisions based on data. They're making decisions based on scorecards, right? And then they can almost forecast and predict the revenue that will come in if they make slight adjustments, okay? Now let's talk about leadership just for a second, mindset, and why it's a non-negotiable. There's 12,000-ish med spas in the US. 12,000. So competition's obviously rising. Leadership, in my view, is behind the number of units that's out there. So there's 12,000 units. I'll call those, med spas, rooftops, whatever we want to call them. Leadership is not rising with the number of units. It isn't a luxury. It's your edge. It's your total edge. It's how you show up. It's how you consistently look at data points, how you consistently invest in who you are, right? Your people are watching. Your providers are watching, your staff's watching, your friends, your family, they're all watching. Culture is shaped on what you tolerate, what you celebrate, and what you prioritize. That's what culture is. Okay. Start the week with team huddles, not chaos. Okay. It shouldn't start with chaos. It should start with team huddles. You should meet with your team. I know that you're busy, right? I know you have patients coming in consistently. I know you have, there's a lot going on. It's okay to have a 10-minute stand up, right? If the practice opens at 9 and your first appointment's at 9:30, like have everybody show up at 8:45. Show up 8:45, sit around the round table, have coffee, talk about, what did we win last week? What are the objectives? What are the priorities? And that way it really shapes the message. Leadership isn't just a job title. It's a daily decision on how to show up for your patients, your team, and your future self. And so that's what I want to talk about today, guys, is how important leadership is. I want you to start showing up as CEOs of your practice. And when you go through these type of environments, when you go through these exercises, and when you compound it with discipline, and you do it for over a year, your practice will 100% grow. It will evolve. You will change. Your patients will be more happy. Your team will be more happy. And you'll stop wondering what's going on, and you know exactly what's happening. And I'll leave it at that. So I appreciate you guys taking so much of your time to tune into all the episodes in the podcast here. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, reach out. Please reach out. You guys can obviously drop me a DM. I'm on Instagram at Cameron Hemphill. You can always drop me a DM. And, my number one ask is for you guys to share, rate the podcast, and tune in. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Until next time, happy injecting.